Okay, welcome everybody. Great to have you along here today. I guess this is an interesting sort of webinar. I normally don't do these sorts of webinars, but I've been thinking about over the last 35 years of what have been some of the key strategies that my clients have employed and that we've employed to grow businesses over that time. And I did some numbers, and I've worked with about over 500 businesses over 35 years. And I did some stats recently, and in the last decade, I've managed to help my clients out about $200 million in sales. So, and then I sort of did this. I originally had 5 key strategies for growth, and I actually ran it past a couple of clients, and they said you left one out. So you've got a bonus strategy, 6 strategies. You might want to think about it like that. So these strategies are strategies, I guess, that my clients have been using to really sort of drive their businesses forward and to really add some value. So I'm not going to mess around. There's a lot to cover. Just heads up, I'm probably going to go about 10 minutes long. So if you've got to go early, I understand, but just adding the extra one in sort of knocked a bit of time out of things. So let's push on. So today I'm going to pass you off into groups at different times. I guess I want you to participate and contribute so you reap the benefits. And then I really want you to contribute only what you're comfortable sharing. So if you've got some information you want to share, that's fine. If you don't want to share it, that's okay. But treat people's other information with the care and confidentiality that you would expect. So I'm expecting we're 100% confidential here today. By all means, in the chat box, please type your contact details in there if you'd like to share them with others. So it's not an invitation to spam each other, but during the course of today, we might find some connections. I know Andrew and Ryan connected over over potential. So all I want you to do is put in your name, your business, what you do, phone number, and an email sort of thing, a mobile number. Just plug that into the chat, but only only if you want to. So COVID's been an interesting time for us all, and we've been moving through this sort of survive, adapt, sort of thrive sort of model over the last year. And I've found that most businesses are really pushing into this thrive phase. And I guess one of the things I want to be sure of is that we're really focused on the things that matter. Because I think I'm already finding that we're working with clients, and if we're not careful, there's going to be some opportunities that we may squander just because we haven't approached them from the right point of view. So that's my sort of first thing. I guess this is something I learned about 25 years ago, that the greatest enemy's success are these 3 things. Greed is the first one, right? And I found these factors play out all over the time. And the greed is focus on taking. Sorry, I'll just get ready to mute their microphone. Sorry, you mute everybody. Greed is the first one. It's about taking more than you get. And I think people forget that business, is an exchange of value. So it's a value exchange, right? So it's about ensuring that there's something in it for everybody and getting that value exchange right. Now, I don't want you to use, a lack of greed as an excuse not to run a profitable business. I'm not talking about that for a second, but being too greedy, I think, is a major factor of impact on people's success. The second one is what we call ignorance, and that's just not knowing what's going on. And my sort of favorite saying is, we don't know what we don't know. You know what I mean? So often we're just ignorant of what's going on, and we fail to ask really good questions. And that's often about ego, where we're afraid of looking stupid or afraid of looking silly. But I think asking smart questions is probably some of the best stuff that we can do. And then the third one is fear. And that holds it back. And we all have this fear of, I'm not good enough. But we also, fear drives lots of decisions that we make. Fear of success, fear of failure, those sorts of things. So those 3 things are probably something that I think overlays everything we're going to talk about today. So make sure that you're understanding the value exchange. Make sure that you're asking smart questions and overcoming ignorance, and making sure that you're actually making some courageous decisions along the way. All right. So let's talk about the 6 key strategies for growth. So the 6 strategies that I've identified are really around a couple of things. Differentiating your business, and we'll go through these in detail, of course. Building an effective business model, engaging your people, doing a much better job on marketing and sales, and then making sure we've got efficient operations. And then the 6th one, which my clients talked about was making sure you get good advice, and that was something that you'd think I would know about, but they thought was really important. So let's work through these in a little bit of detail. Differentiate your business. This is the biggest challenge I find for most businesses. Too many businesses are copycat businesses. Got the same look, got the same products, the same services, the same pricing models. They end up with the same problems and challenges, the same profits and cash flow challenges and that sort of stuff, and the same outcomes as every other business, because all we've done is just copy what everybody else does. Often the only thing that differentiates them is the logo and the name of the business and the people in it. And that's not enough in many cases. So really thinking about what you can do to really differentiate your business is, I think, an inherent part of strategy, and driving strategy is really important in your business. But making sure that your strategy is something that differentiates you, I think, is absolutely critical. And too many businesses just don't do it. I used to run an exercise where in the good old days I'd get the yellow pages and I'd cover up all the logos and all the names and that sort of stuff, and I'd get people to pick their ad out of it. Most people couldn't pick their own ad because they were just vanilla like everybody else. All right, so that's that. And tied into this is this notion of what is your competitive advantage. And a competitive advantage is a really simple thing. It's actually hard to work out, but it's a really simple concept, in that it's about what do you do that is that is most valuable to your customer. So what activities do you do that have high value to the customer, and what activities do you do that then beat the competition, right? That you can beat the competition at. And if you think about them, if you scored all the activities you do, give them a score on each of these, it'd plot like this. So the things that are really high value to the customer and really high, that you do a great job and do a much, much better job than the competition, they form part of your competitive advantage. All right. But things that are high value to the customer and you don't do as well as the competition, that's a lost opportunity for your business. Things where they're low value to the customer and you do a fantastic job on them and really get them right. So you really polish those horseshoe nails. That's completely wasted effort, because it's not something that your customers value. All right. And then the last one is when you don't do either. It's just a low value activity, and you've certainly got to question whether that's necessary. So understanding your competitive advantage, I think, is really important. And therefore it's a tool to help you differentiate your business and move forward. Now, we're not going to work through a competitive advantage exercise today, but what I'd like you to do now is just have a think about this. I'm going to break you off into groups to discuss it in a minute, but I want you to think about what could you do differently in your business to really differentiate it. Is it a pricing thing? Had you put your products or services? Could they be different? Can you merge a product or service? Can you build packages? Could you change the quality of what you do? Could you change the value in some way by exchange of value? All right. Could you add a product to a service, or vice versa, or whatever? So think of a couple of different ways that you could differentiate your business. I want you to pick on the most important one. You'll have a couple of minutes to do that. Okay, so when you're ready, simply pause the video, complete the exercise, and press play to start again. And we'll see you in a few minutes. Cheers. So I guess that was the bit I was thinking about there is, what's your top priority to actually improve your competitive advantage and drive your competitive advantage in your business? And you can put a lot more time and energy into that exercise of developing a competitive advantage, but it's a really useful thing to think about. And it's one of the things that my clients, I think, have really focused on. We've looked and said, what's our competitive advantage? What's our real advantage in the marketplace, as opposed to some wishy-washy stuff? So that's something particularly useful. All right, so let's talk about the next strategy, and it's this building an effective business model. And it's amazing the number of people that I talk to who have a really poor business model. Yeah, and often they've created this business that it's fantastic, and it does all these amazing things. I'll give you an example. I recently spoke with a gentleman here on the Gold Coast who set up quite a smart little business. It was really clever what he was doing, but he was charging $800 a session for it, which sounds like it was good money. The problem was he was putting as much time and energy into selling an $800 product as I put into selling probably a $25,000 product that that will then last me for 4 years. So I'm sort of getting $100,000 for the same effort that he's getting to get 800. And when we did the multipliers, he had to do so many of these damn things to actually make any money at all. And his understanding of how much money he was really going to make and how much he was going to end up on his hand were two different things. So the challenges I see most of the time with business models are low margins. You know what I mean? Often people use a cost plus model and simply don't add enough. Right? They simply don't add enough to get the right margin there. And my target margin for my clients is that our net profit should be 30% of our sales after a reasonable salary. So if you're pulling $300,000 a year out, and you could actually employ somebody to do your job for about $100,000, you put 100 in as the wages, and the other 200 go down to dividends. Because remember, out of profit, we have to pay tax. We have to reinvest capital back into the business and pay ourselves a dividend. All right. But my target is 30% of sales. And everybody goes, oh, you can't do that. Well, I've got a large number of clients who have actually, you can't do it overnight, but we're actually got to that point, and we're making some serious money. So that's the first thing. Unrealistic volumes to make a living. People just get all the numbers wrong and just don't comprehend how hard it is to do some of the things that we need to do. So they have unrealistic expectations of what it is. Their business model is too complex. So they've got these really complex systems. I was talking to somebody the other day who's got a 15-step model for doing something, right? It's just too complex. You have to have a brain bigger than a planet to remember the 15 steps. So making it simple, I think, is harder work than making it complex. And often we make things complex because we're trying to be either exacting or we're trying to be intellectually superior. And therefore, I think it's much harder to make things simple. A lot of the tools that we use in Mindshop are very, very simple. It's much harder to create something simple than it is to create something complex. One size fits all. Everybody I talk to, lots of clients don't want to have the same as everybody else. They don't want to have the one size fits all. They want something that is tailored to their specific needs. Now, it may be exactly what everybody else is getting, but they want to feel like that you've tailored it specifically for them in some way. All right. So they don't tailor things. Again, we talked about undifferentiated, those sorts of things. And I think this is a big topic, and we're going to talk a bit about marketing, and part of this is your marketing strategy. But the first step for me is creating what I call the 3-circle model. And my experience is if we can explain your business in 3 simple circles, then all of a sudden it's easy to explain to somebody else. Now, this is my model, right? So I talk to clients and say, first thing we've got to have is a strategy, a clear strategy that differentiates in the marketplace. We've then got to make sure we've got the capabilities to execute on that strategy, and therefore, make sure we're not writing checks we can't cash, and then finally make sure that we've got the commitment to actually drive that strategy and make it happen. Okay, so that's my strategy. I can explain it simply. I can draw it on the back of a napkin, beer coast or whatever, and I can do it. Here's an example from another client. We basically just said, product, service, and support. So, how do we make sure? Oh, sorry, that. Sorry, I lost it all here. Yeah, that we've got. My client said, well, what we do is deliver a product. Then I've taken it out. We provide service to that, and then we provide a whole heap of support. Yeah. And that's what we need to do. So for you, I'd like you to think here right now, and probably some homework for you is to work out what's your 3-circle model. So what are the things that are going to be really important for you to understand and to drive in your business to make sure that you can explain yourself clearly and simply. So complexity, I think, is difficult, is hard to do, but simplicity is even harder. So can you describe your business in 3 circles? We do X, Y, and Z. And there's a lot of detail that hangs off the 3 things. I'm not suggesting you don't put the detail at some point, but unless you can explain your business clearly and simply, then you're going to find it harder and harder to sell to somebody. And that's the one thing my clients have done really well, being able to describe what we do very simply and very easily, and particularly put it in ways that make it relevant to our target market and to our customers. All right. Third strategy is about engaging people. And my clients that have been really successful are the ones that really have surrounded themselves with a quality team, and then have engaged those people to help them out. And I think your people can be the difference between a good and a great business. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter whether you've got a big team, a small team, or you're just a one-man band. You still need to think about the people that you have around you and that you need to succeed. All right? You might need a virtual assistant. It could be just the quality of the team. And we're going to talk about the quality of the team later, but it could be the quality of the advisors that you have and the people that provide you with support. Yeah. So, all those sorts of things are really, really important. And I think Jim Collins in his book Good to Great put it really succinctly. You got to get the right people on the bus. Yeah. And and interestingly, that Good to Great book is still a fantastic book that is still relevant to today, and it's something that we need to do. Yeah. And I'd encourage you to actually go and read it, because it's a really powerful book, and it's got lots of great stories in it. But getting the right people on the bus, making sure you empower them, get them engaged and involved in your business, really important. And that doesn't matter whether they're external advisors or not. Can you get your accountant or your bookkeepers or your, those sort of people engaged in your business so they actually take some ownership and want to help you to grow and develop? I think that's really important. The third piece is around coaching and developing your people. So that's around nurturing and growing your people so that they expand as your business expands. Because often we have capabilities that we're going to need in the future, and we need to start growing people for that position right now. So I want you to take just a minute or two, and I want you to think around this. So who's on your team? So who are the critical people on your team? And you might think internal and external, but the questions at the bottom are really, really important. Who's missing? Who's taking up a valuable seat and not reading it, really adding some value? And therefore, what changes do you need to make? All right. So you have people missing. Do you have people that aren't pulling their weight? And what are you going to do about that? So what are the changes that you need to make? So take 2 seconds to do that, and I'm going to break you off into groups again. Okay, so when you're ready, simply pause the video, complete the exercise, and press play to start again. And we'll see you in a few minutes. Cheers. Rightio, welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, so I hope you got a little bit of value out of some of that thinking. And I guess we've covered 3 of the key elements to start with, and that's about differentiating your business, making sure you've got a business model that makes sense, and then engaging the right people to help you in your business. And I think it's absolutely critical that we get some of those things right at the front end, because without some of those things, then the next stuff doesn't make any sense. So it's really important that we get to the point where we're really focusing on building a strong business with a good business model, so that we actually really start to do some smart things when we start to talk about sales and marketing. Now, I'll just get you to mute your microphones again. There's a bit of background noise on some people's at some end, so just get you to hit the mute button down in the left-hand corner. That'd be fantastic. All right. So the other big thing that we talked about with my clients is and the things that really made a difference is doing a much better job on marketing and sales. And most people do a pretty poor job on this, I've got to say. And it's a difficult thing. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do at all, but in general, we get caught up in a lot of stuff. So let's talk about some of this stuff. First thing is, I just want to get some definitions straight. So marketing is really about creating a compelling offer for your prospects, right? It's a highly strategic activity. One part of marketing is promotion, right? I'm going to talk about what part that is in a minute, and we'll talk more about promotion. But it's really about activities that increase the visibility of your offer to attract prospects. Now, that's unfortunately the bit where people go to first, right? But you've got to be thinking marketing. Sales is the process of converting your prospects into customers, all right? So we use marketing and promotion to attract prospects to our business. Sales is the process of converting them. And then service is the thing that converts our customers into advocates or quality together, All right. So there's some things I find people sort of miss up. And there's a thing called the loyalty ladder, which is we move people from being prospects through to advocates by focusing on these sort of things. So that's the sort of stuff I find really important that we get right. A couple of key questions that we really need to understand. And I ask these questions of my clients. So the first question is, are you getting in front of enough qualified prospects? All right. Because if you're not getting in front of enough qualified prospects, that means that your marketing is at fault. Okay. So that's the first question. So if you're not sitting in front of enough people, then you're not doing a good job on your marketing, or you could do a better job on your marketing. I probably should say. And then the second question is, what's your conversion rate for prospects to customers? So of the people you sit in front of at a sales meeting, how many of those convert to customers? All right. Because if your conversion rate is low, and by low I'm saying probably less than 60%, then your conversion rate for prospects to customers is too low. Okay. So you've got a sales problem. Now, if you're not sitting in front of enough people and you're not converting enough, then you've got both a marketing and a sales issue. First thing you've got to work on is marketing. You've got to get in front of some more people. And quite simply, if you take the number of qualified prospects, multiply by your conversion rate, the percentage that you convert through, it should be getting you close to your target market for new business. The alternative is to say, if my target is to get 3 new customers a week, and I've got a 50% conversion rate, because let's say 100% conversion rate, then I need to sit in front of 3 people. If I've got a 50% conversion rate, I need to sit in front of 6 people. So therefore, my marketing needs to deliver that. So that's the first question. Do you have a marketing problem or a sales problem? The other thing that I find people don't quite get is the truth about the market. All right. And if this is a simplistic diagram, but basically we've got a realistic pool of potential customers, right? If you're saying that everybody who's upright with a pulse and a wallet is potentially a customer, then you're actually not focused enough in your marketing, and you need to be really clear on who your customers are. They can do your marketing really well. So who's your ideal customer avatar? And we've covered this in a whole heap of places before. The stats are that the proportion of who are actually actively looking for the services that you might offer at any one time are less than 10%. And then the actually wild truth is less than 1% of the total pool are people that are willing to buy from you now. They're actually looking and willing to buy. So everybody thinks we've got this pool of customers to deal with. It's really this pool of customers that we're working on. So the truth of the market is really about making sure that we've got, that we've got an understanding of what the market looks like. So let's talk a bit about marketing. Okay. So in terms of marketing, there are 5 key P's, right? I remember I said this is a highly strategic activity, and it's a process you need to do before you get to promotion. And the 5 P's: understand who your patrons are. That's a P word for customers, your target market. So get real clarity about your target market. What then products and services do they demand from you? All right. How do we price that? And then how do we deliver that online, face-to-face, wholesale, retail, whatever your distribution strategy is. From that, you can use that to build together some packages and think about how we could do things a bit differently. And then you need to think about promotion. All right. Now, I'm not going to go into any more detail about it. I've got a free online marketing course on the website. You can just log on to it. It'll step you through this process of getting this right for your business. Also talks a bit about social media and other things. But let's talk quickly about promotion. All right. So promotion is an activity. All right. Now, my things around promotion are beware of the gurus. This great quote from Mark Twain. He's a funny guy, actually. It says, if you're good with a hammer, you will see everything as a nail. And that's what I find. I get people say to me, Instagram, you've got to be on Instagram. Everybody has to be on Instagram. It's the next greatest thing. Or it could be Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever it happens to be. That's where you need to be, because that's where the marketing happens. But unless you actually follow your customers, ask your customers where they are and where they're going, then you can actually end up just with a lot of wasted effort. So I sat down with my clients a number of years ago and said, righto, how do I contact people like you? Where would I go to contact you? And Facebook was not the place. They said, you know, these are CEOs and owners of bigger family businesses are saying to me, I don't go onto Facebook to look for business coaches and business advisors. I go onto Facebook to share photos of the kids and the grandkids on my holidays. But that's when I interact with other people, but I'm not there for business reasons. LinkedIn is far more likely to find me there than you are on Facebook. All right. So that was the conversation that I have had with them. So that's my first thing. Just be really wary of the gurus, because lots of people will be telling you exactly what you need to do. You must go here. You must do this. You must do that. We can make you $1 million doing these things. And I think some of those people can really help you, but it's got to be in an area where your target market is heading. The thing I want to talk about is how to be more authentic in your selling and in your marketing. And The Purple Cow was a great book by a guy called Seth Godin, and it's a book I buy and give away regularly. It's a fantastic book. It's probably still one of the great reads. It's nearly 20 years old now, but it's still a fantastic read. And in that, Seth Godin talked about how if you're driving on the road and there's a field full of black and white cows, how do you stand out? Well, you need to be the purple cow that stands out. Now, he sold, millions and millions of copies of the damn thing. So now everybody's thinking they need to be a purple cow. I think that one of the rationales for moving forward and how to be more authentic in your selling is to actually be a black and white cow, is to go back to the things that have worked previously. And so how do you stand out in a field of purple cows? You be a black and white cow. All right. For me, that's about being authentic. It's about being more realistic, not slick. I've seen people come up with these cool marketing ideas where they've got a photo of you with a picture or your name on a coffee cup saying, hey, let's catch up for a coffee and all that sort of stuff. It's all really gimmicky and slick, and I don't think it necessarily produces the right image for what they're looking at. So be authentic, don't be slick. And some of the stuff that's working is to go back and try some of the older technology. So things like LinkedIn and Facebook becoming less and less effective, even though there's more and more people pushing it. So go back and try. Direct email is still a really strong way to contact people. I mean, you guys are all here from a direct email campaign. Print advertising. You can go back to print. Denise is on today. He's got a fantastic business called Coffee News Australia. Uses simple print advertising in coffee shops to help people promote their businesses. I think going back to some of the stuff that's worked previously will actually be something, and being authentic about it will be stuff that will differentiate you in the marketplace. So that's worth thinking about. Now, I've got 3 elements of a promotional strategy. So let's talk about promotion. And the level of intensity that you put into each of these, or whether you do them at all, will depend a little bit on your business. But in general, you need to do each of these 3. You need to do some of it. So we need to do some networking. We need to get out and about and talk to people and be seen, okay? Because people buy from people. So just sending endless Facebook posts is not going to help you. You need to get out and meet people and press the flesh with some people. So networking is really important. Understanding what networks work for you and what networks don't is critical. We've got a lot more options. I've got a lot more options here on the Gold Coast than people in regional areas have. Where often it's just the Chamber of Commerce and a few other things. But think about networking. And I've got some good resources on networking that will send you. One-to-ones. So talking to people who are potential referral sources for you. People who have the same target market of you but are not competing industries is really important. So you need to have some meetings with one-to-ones with people. Now, some of those will flow out of either your networking or your broadcast activities. And then the third piece you need to do is some broadcast activity. So for me, that seems like, your website, it's social media, it's direct marketing, it could be advertising, it's all those things, right? You need to think about your business and say, right, where do I need to be putting my effort? If we're going to grow this business, where do I need to be putting my effort in terms of my promotional strategy plan? All right. So I want you to take a minute to do that. I said homework here, but I want you to just take a minute to do that. So what element of your promotional plan is the weakest? Where do you need to focus your efforts? Is it in networking, one-to-one, or broadcast? Take 30 seconds and write it down. Okay, so when you're ready, simply pause the video, complete the exercise, and press play to start again. And we'll see you in a few minutes. Cheers. Okay. So that's marketing. really quick overview of marketing, but you need to get a clear marketing strategy and a clear marketing plan for your business. It's a highly strategic activity. You need to get all that sorted. Then you can work on how you promote your business, and then we can start talking about sales. And for me, sales is the big differentiator. And you start to think about this, what impact will lifting conversions from 30 to 40% to 80 or 90% of people that you talk to have in your business? I'll tell you now, it's not a linear growth in your business. It is exponential. And I guess I use those numbers because that's what my numbers have changed from putting some more time and energy into sales training and sales delivery stuff. My experience is that most people think they're okay at sales, and most people are pretty ordinary at it. Okay. So we think we're good at it until we actually sit down and we get some training and we do stuff. Many people have done a very limited sales training. And if they have, I find the vast majority of people fail to apply that training in any meaningful way. We forget about it. We don't work it through. And I guess the big challenges, that I see are too much hard selling. So people think sales is about a hard sell. I don't believe it's about that at all. This book by Neil Rackham, probably the best-selling sales system in the world, called Spin Selling, is absolutely brilliant. And I'd encourage you to get a copy of that and read it, because it's all about asking questions to understand what your client's needs are without pitching, right? So it's about understanding what your client's needs are. If we start thinking about why we sort of fall over in sales, we don't have a process. There's no structure. There's no process. There's no systems behind it. We just wing it and we make it up. And it's a really critical component of our business. We fail to discuss money. So when we're talking to clients, very rarely do we raise the what it's going to cost them to use us. Yeah, we often fail to discuss the money, and I'll explain why in a second. We fail to ask for the business. So the number of times I've sat with people who hint at, there you go. We've sort of, that's what we sort of do. What do you reckon? So they don't really ask for the business. So asking for the business is really important. And the reason why we don't do these things is because most people abdicate sales responsibility to a proposal or a quote, right? And that is a disaster in my opinion, because you lose momentum in the sales process. You don't get a chance to discuss the money. You don't get a chance to overcome people's objections. You don't get a chance to refine your offer to meet their specific needs. What happens is when you send a proposal or a quote to them, they look at it and look at the bottom line and go, yeah, that's more than we want to spend, and they go and talk to somebody else. Very, very rarely will I come back to you and go, that's too expensive. Can we do something? So I think you've got to be really careful about doing this. And if a client says to me, that's fantastic, can I have a quote? That tells me that they're really saying no. Okay. And then I need to turn that conversation around, and we go back to saying, so what is it that I've left out for you? So it's really easy. Now, sometimes when we have a competitive quote situation or a competitive tendering situation, where we will need to do some proposals, quotes, my secret weapon in that space is to use video. So I do a video proposal, and it's won me so much work. It's frightening. It's no longer a secret weapon because I've just told you about it, but it's something that I would really, really encourage you to have a look at. So just doing this very quickly. Think about sales. So what actions will you take to increase your sales skills? What do you need to do to invest in yourself? I think spending some money on building your sales skills is really, really important, and I'd encourage you to do more of it. All right. Now, I'm going to send you off to the breakout rooms again. What I want you to just think about in terms of marketing and sales, what is the number one activity that you need to do in order to generate some revenue and really, really build your sales across your business. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to send you off to some breakout rooms. I have about 6 minutes again. Okay, so when you're ready, simply pause the video, complete the exercise, and press play to start again. And we'll see you in a few minutes. Cheers. So the fifth strategy that my clients we talked about and was really around making sure we've got got efficient operations, and there was about making sure that we're both effective and efficient in what we do, and that's building the profit into those sorts of into our businesses. It was really interesting that my clients that spend time in this space, the dividends really pay off. So we'll talk about what some of the stuff that we can do in just a second. But I think you got to make sure you put it into context. The sequence is you need to get your business model right so that your offer is right, and that right, I mean trial and error till you get it right. You get your business model right. You need to get your sales processes right, and then you can work on efficiency. Now, I'm not suggesting for a second you sell a product that you lose money on, but if you're making some money and it's going reasonably well, then volume will actually give you a little bit of profit in that space. But focusing on efficiency first until you've got the other two things in place, I think is a waste of effort, because cash paper's over a lot of cracks, and so therefore make sure that you've got your business model right, you've got your sales processes working well, and you're getting plenty of money in the door. That gives you some cash, and to focus on building efficiencies. The other thing people do is that they're not necessarily efficient in the right places. And this is a stylized business process where we go from A to E. The red squares are where we interface with our customers, and the blue squares are where we don't interface with the customer, and it's a backroom operation or an off the ball operation. Too many people try and get efficient when they're with the customer. And I think you need to be effective when you're in the customer. I'm not saying waste lots of time, but remember, the time with your clients and your customers is when you build relationships and you build that longer term stuff. So you don't want to be seen to being super efficient and rushing people out the door. Now, at the same time, you just got to balance that. But I think too many people try and get super efficient in that space. Whereas the blue squares, when you work in the back room, that's when you really need to get your efficiency. So your systems and processes come into play. And what do we need to focus on? So if you're going to get some efficiency in your business, you need to think about a few things. We get leverage through our people, we get leverages through processes, and we get leverages through systems. So let's just talk briefly about each of those. So people, so efficiency is around people, is saying, well, how do we get more out of the same level of resources? All right. And sometimes that's about employing people to take tasks away from your business and free you up for bigger things. Sometimes it's just getting your people to be more focused and engaged and working with your business. And there's a couple of tips here for things you might want to think about. The third one there about virtual assistants. Virtual assistants are an answer. I don't believe they're the answer for everybody, but I think they can actually sort of play out. And I've certainly found that in this post-COVID environment, or we're probably still in COVID, in this COVID environment, that people are suddenly realizing that they can have part-time employees, people can work from home and still be productive, and I can actually engage with people who don't sit in the office with me. And therefore, I think the opportunity to use virtual employees or virtual assistants or virtual services has really mounted and are really, really lifting. So think about people. How can you get more leverage out of the people? Systems. So these are usually programs and technology solutions that coordinate, manage, and automate key aspects of your business. Typical things, CRMs, bookkeeping, task management, information storage, analytics programs, Office 365, Google Docs, things that allow you to do delivery and that sort of stuff. And what we need to do is define our ecosystem of systems. The systems that work for you. And, I've got a reasonably detailed process that we could work through where we talk about what systems are important. But, basically, if you're picking systems, make sure that they interface with everything that you've got. So I'm a Mac and Apple person. So I buy that because they just work together, right? I don't have to worry about, will my Samsung phone speak to my Mac or my desktop or my Windows or whatever. I just go with Apple with everything. It makes it easier. Okay. Are they the best products and the best things on the market? Probably not. I don't really care. They just work together. All right. So that's really important. I find that just causes way less headaches. Make sure that the app you're talking about or the program you're using is fit for purpose. So does it do the job that you need it to do? Yeah. And that job should be lifting your productivity. All right. So if it doesn't, do those three things. Interface with other things. It's not really good at what it does. And if it doesn't lift your productivity by using it, then you've not got the right product. Okay. And so building an ecosystem is really important. And this is my sort of, rough ecosystem of products here. I tend to write them up into, tools I use for delivery, tools I use for communication, and tools I use to keep organized. And so for delivery, I use Office 365 and Google Docs in different ways for different purposes. I use a product called ScreenFlow to capture videos, screen capture videos, and do that sort of stuff, which I then post onto YouTube. And then I use Mindshop Online, which is my online coaching platform, which has training programs and videos and a coaching interface in it. In terms of communication, I use Bonjoro, which is a fantastic app that allows me to take short videos and send them to people. Really good, like a video messaging tool. It's fantastic, and you can do marketing campaigns with it, do all sorts of great stuff with it. Worth having a look at. I use Outlook just to send out my emails and do other things. And then I use Zoho as a CRM. And Zoho campaigns are part of the one package to do all the mail outs and all that sort of stuff that you would have seen for this event. And then I use Zoom. Zoom is a really important communication tool for me. We're using Zoom today, and I use it for lots of meetings. I'm sure there are others. There's Teams and other things, but I tend to use Zoom. In terms of organization, I use Evernote. If the Mac version of OneNote was better, I would use OneNote. So if I was a Windows user, I would use OneNote. Fantastic for storing articles and bits of information and ideas and concepts in. It's really good. I use OneDrive for all my storage, for cloud storage. I use Asana for task management. I use Xero for all my accounting stuff and for sending bills. And the one I've probably left out of here is Google Calendar, which is integral to the way I stay organized. And I use it in combination with a program called Calendly, which allows people to make and change appointments in my diary. But you need to build an ecosystem of apps and stuff that give you the power and give you leverage and make you, I guess, the business person you need to be. Processes, process for me are the physical work steps you take to complete tasks and to use your systems. They're normally poorly documented and unstructured. Yeah. And a little tip here, use screen capture and an app, which I use, or iPhone, or whatever mobile phone you've got, videos to record instructions and processes and save a library of them online. So rather than writing out detailed work instructions and all that sort of stuff, just take a video of it. Way quicker, way more digestible and easier for people to use. Really encourage you to to do that. In terms of improving efficiency, so if you're going to look at our people, systems, and processes, there's a couple of tools that we use to do this. One is a 7 waste process. It's part of the lean manufacturing toolkit, and it is just really a fantastic tool. Oh, geez, I've done this again. That gives us, a different perspective. It drops out of the Toyota management system. It is just fantastic. Simple process to run across your business and to do some great stuff with. You can use process mapping, ways of doing, map the processes, map your systems, that sort of stuff, so you're clear what you've got. And there's a great book on this called Systemology by David Jennings. David's an Aussie, which is always good, and it's a current bestseller. I'm about halfway through reading it, but it's really good. He talks about, step 1, identify the minimum number of processes that will have the biggest impact. So think about your processes and just focus on the minimum number. He said you need to have less than 15. If you've got more than 15, it's just crazy. I'd be saying focus on 5 and get them done, and then start with a number 1 priority. Create a system that outlines the steps in each process, then test, adjust, and repeat. He's got some other steps in there, but that's the main process to it. So I'd be encouraging to use video. I think David has a tool that they'll quite happily sell you that helps you to map your processes and get some things together. But either way, you need to improve on the efficiency and productivity in your business. Okay, so quick step. What's the first place you need to focus in order to make the first step in improving your operational efficiency? Is it with people? Is it with systems? Or is it with processes? Just make a quick note. Okay, so when you're ready, simply pause the video, complete the exercise, and press play to start again. And we'll see you in a few minutes. Cheers. Okay, so on the home straight. Let's talk this through. So the sixth one, and this is one when I discussed this with some clients and ran it past them. It's interesting. Both of them came back and said, "I think there's one you've left out, and that's make sure you get some good advice." And I think that's you get what you pay for. Now, I thought that's a bit interesting. That they would bring that up. And they said, one of the key things that we've done in our businesses to be successful is we've employed good advisors, and they didn't go as far to say that I was one of them, of course, but they did get some other good advisors in after me. And the sort of advice that I'm talking about, things like finance, get good advice on finance, good advice on your tax and accounting, and make sure you're doing the right thing there. Marketing and sales, make sure you get some good advice in that space. The ones that I find are really left out are OH&S. Most of you are too pretty to go to prison. It's a legal requirement. You have OH&S systems in your business. Most people give it lip service. If something happens in your business, you will go to jail, and that's the short and sweet of it. So really encourage you to spend a bit of time around OH&S and that sort of stuff. And if you want me to refer you into people in these spaces, I certainly can, because there's some great people around doing this work. Some of them on this call today even. So HR and recruiting, again, making sure you got all that sort of stuff, legal, IT, all that sort of stuff needs to be done well. Personal development and growth. I've had a session today with a personal coach that I'm working with. Has been really good. And then lastly, of course, business strategy and coaching. They're some of the top sorts of advice that I think you need to get into your business and think about. And how do you pick a good advisor? I guess the things I look for and I get my clients to look for when we're talking about this stuff is we want somebody that fits with you and your values, right? I think that's really important. There's a chemistry test there that there's a strong fit, that there's a proven track record. So you want somebody who's got a proven track record of doing what they say they can do. Their experience is relevant to you and your business and what you need to do. They have the technical skills. I think you want people with deep technical skills to really help you, so they really understand that. And lastly, there's a value exchange. There needs to be value for money in all this, and you need to understand what the value is. And if you're not getting value, then you should be asking for it or change your advisor. That's my sort of advice. So very quickly then, what's the most important step you need to take in this advice area? Where do you need to build your team of advisors, and who do you need to add into that? All right. And I'm just going to break you off into groups one last time. Okay. So when you're ready, simply pause the video, complete the exercise, and press play to start again. And we'll see you in a few minutes. Cheers. So folks, we'll just pretty much right on time. So just summarize it all. I guess, in summary, pulling it together, these 6 key strategies, they may not sound like very much, but my experience is that they're the things that really stop most businesses from really, from moving ahead. There's certainly been, for most of my businesses, most of them have been the things that have really, really set my clients apart. So that differentiating your business, make sure you've got a business that is clearly differentiated. You've got products and services that are clearly different to the marketplace and your competitors, and that you look different and smell different. I think that's really, really important. If you look and smell the same as everybody else, then you're in trouble. And often we just think, oh yeah, we'll be okay. Now, you can run a reasonable business still by being relatively undifferentiated, but the problem is you just end up with the same issues and the same challenges. So, in my experience, taking the time to really think about your business and how you can be different, really important. Make sure you've got an effective business model, a business model that actually makes money. I find too many people have a business model, when I really look at it with them, they just don't make money. And one of the first things we do is sit down and say, right, tell me about your business model. How does it actually work? Are you actually making some money out of this, out of each product and service? And what are we doing? Because overall, it doesn't make sense. And as I said, sometimes you can have a product that looks really good and it's really attractive, but you have to, the overheads, overheads are probably the wrong word, but the sales and marketing activity and stuff required to actually generate the level of business that you're going to do is just too high to make the business effective, or the volume of product you have to put through the damn thing to make it worthwhile. So, if your margins are all wrong, then you'll be inclined to go, well, if I just sell 100 of them, So I was talking to a guy the other day who's as cheap as chips, fantastic service, but he's saying, well, I'll get 100 on, and that'll be really good. And I'm saying, but it's going to send you broke. The first 100 will send you broke, and you'll just be, the service cost is going to be massive. I don't think you can do that. And then this notion of, I'll upsell everybody once I get them on board at a cheap price, I'll upsell them. I think there's some flaws in some of that marketing. Third piece, engaging people. So my clients that have done best are people where we've really engaged our teams and got our people working with us, whether they're virtual assistants, virtual teams, or external team members, and make sure you get them engaged. Let them understand where you're taking your business and where you're going with it, and the things that are important to you. That's really important. The big game changer for me that most people do a terrible job on is marketing and sales. And if I'm honest, I think most people have a bit of a hit at marketing and don't do such a bad job on that, but it's sales where they really fall down. So if you're going to spend your time doing anything, make sure you work on improving your sales skills. Yeah, you want your conversion rate at 80, 90%, not 50, 60, 30%. You're just doing too much work and too much effort. Speaking to a client this morning, and we were working through his sales process, and his sales process is he did exactly what I've said he shouldn't do. He's getting to the point where he's going, oh, that sounds good, and then he's sending him a proposal, and his sales conversion rate is abysmal as a result. We're going to change that. Efficient operations, once you've got your business up and humming, you've got some work coming in the door, things are humming, then you can work on efficiency. Don't get to be the most efficient person with no clients. I guess that's what I'm saying. Make sure you got lots and lots of efficiency. And then lastly, get some good advice. Surround yourself with a team of experts and a team of people that are really going to help you take your business to that next level. So pay for the advice, get some good quality advice to help you out no matter what areas in. My clients have been successful, all spend good money on advisors in a whole range of areas to get them to the point where, there's no point getting marketing advice if market research advice from somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. So get some good quality advice and be prepared to pay for it, but make sure that they fit with you and your values. Really important. Okay, so I just want you to think for a second. The next 90 days, where's the area where you need to put most of your effort? Yeah, if I said in the next 90 days you need to focus on this sort of, which area would it be? Okay, and then we'll just quickly, if you like, I won't do that. So just think about that. All right, the next steps. So lots of resources on the website. We will send you out a link to the video from today, plus a page of resources. So we've got a link to our marketing course. You'll get the slides from today, all that sort of stuff, and the video. You'll also get links to a whole heap of videos that help you deal with some of these areas, particularly in the marketing sales area. With a whole heap of stuff in that sort of space. Happy to have a chat with any of you. Just use the link to book a call with me. Really happy to have a chat with you and talk about what your plan is and how you want to move forward from this point. The next forum is, I normally do them on the second Tuesday of the month, but the next Tuesday, my mum is going to hospital, so I'm going to getting a knee replacement. So I'm going to go and be with her on that day. So I can't guarantee I'll do it. So I'll do it the week later. So it's on Tuesday, the 18th of May. Love to have you along. Love to hear from you. If you've got any interest in what topics and things we might talk about, be happy to take your input from that. Okay, so thanks for attending. Open up the microphones if you've got any questions or any comments. Please feel free to make them, but otherwise I'll catch you around soon. Cheers.